If something is readily available to people at a reasonable price, it is never a barrier. One of the first business people that I started studying when I moved into the private sector world was Warren Buffett. I mean, he was fascinating to me. I loved the way that he wrote. I loved the way that he talked. It felt very plain spoken. It felt easy to understand. And I was not somebody who really gravitated to like textbook business stuff. It just did not land with me. But the way that he talked about it and a handful of others, it just made sense. And one of the things that he talked about early on was he wanted to invest in businesses that had a moat. And that moat might be, centuries of brand recognition or distribution channels. He talked about Coca-Cola and how they had so much distribution. They had the rights to all these, the fountains and the cooler space and shelf space. And it would be almost impossible for somebody to catch them because they had that distribution moat. And I thought about the fields that I'm competing in, whether it was business in local markets with the gyms that I own, or the business coaching world, or any of the other businesses that I've been involved in, or in the sports world when it came to coaching baseball. And I think about, okay, how can we create a moat? How can we do things differently that are going to be harder to copy, that are going to give us a head start? It's not that somebody can't catch up. There are no shortage of really smart, motivated people out there. But really a moat is this head start that, if you're diligent and kind of keep your head up and you pay attention to what you're doing, you can always kind of have this gap, or at least over the long haul, have a gap. And I think a lot of people are missing out on what the actual moats are. I see this in both business and in the coaching world. In the business world, all too often, people are thinking, oh, my Facebook ad or my landing page, those are my moats. And I'm like, man, if somebody can copy what you do really quickly, that's not a moat. I mean, I remember I sold my stake in a holding company where we had a number of businesses years ago. And, there was some skepticism because I wasn't really the tech person. Some skepticism about me getting up and running quickly. I'm like, man, if I can go hire somebody off of a Fiverr or an Upwork or something like that to go build something or deploy something fast, that's never going to be a barrier. If something is readily available to people at a reasonable price, it is never a barrier. And I see it in the baseball world right now. Some people thinking that all this tech that's available to them, they have all this data, they have all the analytics side of things. That's not a moat either. If I can catch up with you with a credit card, if I can just go buy whatever technology that you have, right? That's not a moat. If I can go to your Facebook profile and see all of your ads and copy those, that's not a moat. The things that are a moat are the things that make you unique, that make you different. They are the things that maybe you're willing to do that other people won't do because there's so much friction in them doing them that they just won't stick to it. They don't have the perseverance. I've talked about it many times over. Me writing a daily email for 2 decades was something of a moat because nobody else would do it. Me being a relationship-oriented coach when so many other people in the business world, at least in the market that I was in, are transactional, that's been a moat, right? Because they didn't care. It's just who's got a pulse on a credit card. So those things have been competitive advantages because you're not going to teach somebody to care. They may act like they care for a little bit, but you're not going to rewire who they are, right? You're not going to change who has perseverance and is willing to be consistent and isn't looking for the easy shortcut. When I was coaching college baseball, it took me a little bit to figure out like what what was our competitive advantage? It wasn't going to be location or resources. It wasn't going to be scholarship money. It wasn't going to be having the nicest on-campus facility, but it could be player development, a style of play, a type of person that we recruited that fit that culture and that campus and that environment. And once we figured that out, we could be better at everybody else with that combination. And that's probably another thing to consider is a lot of times the moat isn't a singular thing. It's a combination of 2 or 3 things that nobody else is going to catch you with, right? If you are a top 10% performer in one thing, that means there are other people in that top 10%. If you are a top 10% performer in like 3 things and you kind of mesh those together, now very rarely is somebody going to have that same unique combination. And I know in the business world, that's what I try to do. In the baseball world, even coaching at the high school level or coaching travel baseball, there are plenty of people who are better, at any number of individual things than me in both arenas. But my job is to say, what are the things that I am very good at in either lane? And how do I combine those to become this category of one? How do I become the best that I can, in that competitive landscape by combining my strengths? And that allows me to have a moat that nobody else is going to catch me in that lane. And that's what I strive to do. Now, I think all of us in the competitive world, it's what we strive for. It's not something that we automatically have and keep, right? It's always a pursuit. So if you're thinking about, okay, how do I compete and win? If it's easily accessible to everybody, if it is something that I can get with a credit card or something that I can go hire really easily because there's an abundance of talent or knowledge there, if it's something that I can access with a couple of clicks, that's not your competitive advantage. Sure, you may need to be competent in that area, but your competitive advantage is always going to be something else. And so the smart, the successful people are the ones who figure that out quickly and double down on it.